Whenever I watch a movie or TV show, the antagonists, most of the time, are clearly shown as such from the start. Their goals and means to achieve them are mostly the opposite of the protagonists, serving as an antithesis to them. There are some villains where their purpose is directly related to the heroes, like both characters wanting to put an end to each other. A few notable examples come to my mind, like the Harry Potter series, wherein Harry, the child of prophecy, is the only one who can truly defeat Voldemort. Another one is Lord of the Rings, where Sauron, the main villain, is looking for the creature who is holding his ring, killing everyone that stands in his way. In this story, Frodo was the ring bearer, and he fulfilled his quest to destroy the ring, ultimately killing Sauron. This next example is my favorite one, Joker and the Batman. Both consider each other as their greatest foe, their arch nemesis. The Joker continually causes chaos and mayhem in Gotham City, and Batman is always there to foil his plans. Then, there are those narratives where the hero ultimately becomes the villain. This is my favorite kind of story, simply because it is more interesting for me. The themes and notions surrounding this kind of tale is more multi-dimensional than other stories out there. Furthermore, it is grounded in reality. My favorite examples of these kinds of stories include Walter White from Breaking Bad, the greatest TV show I have ever seen so far. Here, we see the change of Walter from a high school chemistry teacher to Heisenberg, a drug kingpin. My next favorite is Michael Corleone from the Godfather trilogy. He did not explicitly turn into an antagonist, but his fall has reached so low that he has become the villain to his family. There is also Harvey Dent from The Dark Knight, another perfect example. He changed from Gotham's White Knight into Two-Face, consequently forcing Batman to radically change his public image into a villain. In these examples, the gradual change of the characters can be clearly seen. We saw terrible things that have happened to them and how they responded to it, ultimately leading to an event that finally broke their entire outlook in life, turning them into a villain. This is why Berserk is one of my favorite shows. There are plenty of villains that have their own reasons and motivations for doing what they do, and yet, all of them fail in comparison to Griffith, one of the heroes of this story. The story of Griffith in Berserk is one of the best arcs I have ever seen. It exhibited a lot of notions, like the driving force of dreams and ambitions, the true meaning of friendship, sacrifices, necessary evil deeds, and much more. His path to madness was not a gradual, straightforward path, and therefore, it was more surprising to see how it all happened in such a short span of time. One of the best things about Berserk is that it made me forget about the many things that happened in the first episode. I forgot about Griffith being mentioned as the King of Midland, and I also forgot about Guts as being a lonesome black swordsman. So, when I was so invested in the story of Guts and the squad, hoping for a happy ending for the Hawks, the eclipse happened, leaving me devastated for a while. It forced me to remember the events of the first episode, and I felt silly when I realized that Griffith was going to become a villain after all. A masterpiece of storytelling by Kentaro Miura. In hindsight, the signs of Griffith's fall were hinted a few times. I was just caught up in the Band of the Hawk's cause and was rooting for them to succeed. One of the first instances when I was surprised at his actions was when he ordered Guts to assassinate the king's brother for him. It may have seemed reasonable at the time, but to order Guts to assassinate a member of the royal family does not seem right to me. Furthermore, it led to Guts killing a child as well, which Griffith shows no remorse from. Then right after Guts assassinated a father and his child for him, Griffith performed his famous speech to Princess Charlotte, wherein he does not consider his comrades as friends, that they were merely soldiers who helped him achieve his dream, and in his mind, a true friend must have his own reasons for living, be independent from him, and be equal to him in all respects. This kind of mindset, just after ordering a close comrade to assassinate someone for him, tells a lot about Griffith's character. A man who is in relentless pursuit of his ambitions, that he will use any means necessary to achieve it, even at the cost of his own comrades who have sacrificed so much for him. While watching Griffith on his journey to the castle in the sky, I keep on remembering a concept famously attributed to Niccolo Machiavelli, author of the famous political book, The Prince. The ends justify the means. This mindset of Griffith is unveiled more when Casca told Guts about the story of how Griffith willfully spent the night with a perverted nobleman, just so he could gain substantial funds to support his growing mercenary band. That example is mild though, compared to what Griffith did to the Queen and her ministers, wherein his desire for reaching his ambition and his cunningness in achieving it has reached a point of no return. When Griffith murdered many of the high members of the king's court, I was having a hard time believing that he actually did it. But seeing the satisfaction and evilness in his eyes, there can be no denying that he truly schemed it. The brutality, the ruthlessness of the schemer, and the desperate cries of the victims of this particular scene heavily reminded me of Game of Thrones. And it is also in this scene that I finally realized that Griffith has changed, or, to use a more fitting term, fallen from grace. Griffith is a man who is not used to losing something, and yet, in his personal process of gaining everything, he has lost his friends, his mercenary band, his nobleman status, and his own soul. He is so obsessed with reaching the top, trying to control everything, that when Guts beat him in single combat and left the band, which is one of those rare opportunities where he cannot control the outcome, he felt so defeated that he became unstable. Griffith has fallen so low at this point in the story. His thoughts right before his duel with Guts is so narcissistic that even I cannot believe it. He does not care if he kills Guts, as long as Guts' fate is his. That is all that matters to him. That is when I know that Griffith will lose this duel, for the mindset of both of them are completely different. One wishes to continue the status quo and rule over everyone's fate, and the other wishes to be free from it, enlightened by his newfound resolve. This is one of the great consequences of having a grand ambition. The individual is so focused on the journey ahead that he tends to forget to look beside him, on the people that helped him move forward in this path. When Guts left, Griffith was not himself anymore, and his actions that followed is a reflection of a man that is desperate to gain control and power that he has possessed for so long. The dangers of ambition are seldom felt, because the losses the individual experience do not come from their path to reach their goals, but mostly from their companions they have disregarded along the way. In Griffith's case, the loss of the only person he considers as his friend was the last blow that ultimately led to his fall. He acted rashly, got himself caught, and was tortured for a year. He has lost his soul, mind, and body. The fires of Griffith's ambition were still burning, however weak the flame is. And the penultimate act that seals his dream, that gave him the capacity to be closer to the castle in the sky, is when he was given the chance to rise above human beings, to be a member of the God Hand, which he did, by sacrificing his friends and army. Griffith's transformation into a villain is one of the best works of fiction I have ever seen. The events that led to him becoming Femto is so nuanced and detailed, and yet, I still did not expect for the final act to happen. You know the story is great when you want to immerse yourself in it again, after just finishing it. I shall definitely read the manga, so that I could continue to enjoy and analyze his character.